All right, my dear BIBLEin365 brothers and sisters, we have arrived at the book of Deuteronomy. And folks, of all the Bible summaries you are going to listen to in the Old Testament, this one is particularly important. And it's important for a lot of reasons. First of all, we have to get into one aspect of this that I have not covered with you, and that is the fact that Deuteronomy is a phrase or a word that was taken from the Septuagint, which of course is the Greek translation of the Hebrew Old Testament. And the word was sort of designed to denote the idea of second law. Sort of the thought process behind this word implies the fact that we are taking another run at the law of God. If you really want to define it in terms that are more tangible, just understand we are talking about Moses's farewell address to the nation of Israel, and brings us an understanding that the law of God, it really becomes a treaty between God and Israel, right? You honor God by honoring his law. God honors you when you honor his law. Now, this is particularly important for us because although many of us that are studying the Bible together are not Jews, many of us fall in the Gentile category. This brings us to a very important principle as we learn to understand the law of God, right? Now, I want to say this, if you may be confused about the direction in which I'm going, the reminder here is for a full Bible summary, in other words, a summary of the full book that we are going over. You can go over my last year reviews over all of these books. This year, what I'm doing is I'm giving you sort of a special overview of the book in a way that will make you more familiar with the other books that surround it and the other books in the Bible that are touched by it. So the reason why I'm bringing this up from this light is the book of Deuteronomy teaches us to take a second look at the law. Now, the funny thing about it is we're not told to take a second look at the law so that we can second guess the words that we find in it. As a matter of fact, the idea behind taking a second look at the law, I believe, was God's built-in way of teaching us to learn to look at the law through the eyes of the wisdom of the Messiah. If you really think about it, Jesus Christ, the Bible makes this very clear to us in John, and we'll get into this when we get into John 1:1. John makes this declaration. It's very simple. He says, En arche en hologos, kai hologos en prosonteo, kai theos in hologos. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And then he tells us later on in verse 14 that the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. Now, this is important to keep in mind because in the book of Matthew, Jesus says, while he is preaching on the mountain, he says, listen, I did not come to abolish the law. I came to fulfill it every jot and tittle. So if you want to understand what the law of God fully encapsulates and what it means, you have to look at it through the eyes and the teachings of Jesus Christ. And I can give you an example of this. There are many popular teachers right now who will look at a passage that you would find in the Torah that restricts adultery, says you shall not commit adultery. And in their minds, they hold it to what they believe is the most strictest form. In other words, you cannot have sexual relations with another woman or another man if you are married, husband or wife. You just can't do that. Yet Jesus says, look, you've been told thou shalt not commit adultery, but I'm telling you, you've broken that law if you've lusted after a woman in your own heart. And so the idea here is that Jesus takes it to a whole new level. He brings it to the area of the mind and the heart. And what's even more spectacular about that is it does several things for us. Number one, it brings a level of accountability to us that makes us better. But then even more importantly, number two, it clearly identifies the need that we have for our Messiah, Christ Jesus, who saves us. He uses the perfect law, the authority of the law, to find a righteousness that we could not find, right? He is the one who fulfilled the law, and through his fulfillment of the law, we have salvation. It's a pretty amazing picture. So when we take a look at the book of Deuteronomy, the second law, Moses' farewell address, in essence, this is the treaty between God and Israel. Understand, it also speaks of our treaty with God, right? That as we dedicate ourselves to him, we are going to be able to learn more. So here is the homework assignment. And that is, as you go through the book of Deuteronomy, look for passages in the New Testament that shed light on the things that are being said in Deuteronomy. And by the way, there are a lot of them. Jesus does a good job of expounding upon this. We know that Peter does. We know that Paul does. And it's pretty amazing when you stop for a moment to consider all of the times that light is shed from the wisdom of God, from the law to how we are supposed to live as Christians. It's great stuff, guys. You are going to love it. You're going to be blown away, and God is going to bless you as you dig into this one. It's going to be fun, guys. Can't wait to see you at the Q&A at the end of the month. Hopefully we'll solve the technical problems that we had, and I cannot wait to answer. If we can do it longer, I'll be available. Also, one more reminder, you can go to jamescadis.com. You can go to the James Cadiz YouTube channel, and we have all kinds of resources available to you for free. Thousands and thousands and thousands of Bible studies. If you want to dig in a little deeper, we've got all kinds of insight laid out for you, and I think you'll be really blessed by it. God bless you guys.